Hi everyone. iTrustCapital is announcing that they're lowering their minimum. So an account is usually you have to open it with 2,500. That's going to be lowered to 1,000, as well as additional contributions are at 1,000, and now will be at 500. So you can make a smaller investment if you choose so. So there used to be a minimum, and that's changing. So the other thing is there's a good opportunity to remind everyone that the deadline for 2022 contributions will be 4/18. So if you use my link iTrust.capital/Darren, you can get $100 in funding rewards, and iTrust supporting crypto IRAs as well as precious metals IRAs. So be sure to check them out. Be sure to use my link. So this first piece of information is President Biden eyes $5 billion in revenue from crypto in 2023. And it suggested that the crypto markets are going to pay for a lot of taxes in 2023. And it mentions, according to the White House, the government can make up to $11 billion in the next decade by modernizing rules applying to digital assets, financial accounting, and reporting practices in the short term. The government project that it can raise almost $5 billion in 2023 alone. Now, I've seen other studies that show this number much higher. And, this is another reason why the government's not going to just all out ban crypto, because it's capital gains, there's tax receipts. And right now we're at a moment where entitlements are raising, the interest on our debt's raising, and our tax receipts are kind of staying in a stagnation. They're kind of going sideways while everything else is moving up. So once that intersects, that's a big problem. So the government needs to raise as much revenue as possible. So crypto is a way to do that. So I just wanted to mention that. This next piece of information is securely staking Solana with standard custody and Figment. This is Jack Mcdonald from Polysign. Now listen to what he has to say.
I think also for raising assets as a new fund or even an existing fund, we've talked to literally hundreds of institutional clients over the last couple months. We recently did a Series B capital raise with Cowen, the investment bank, Cowen Group, and they have an initiative to replatform their whole global markets business to provide a digital experience for clients of theirs who have historically traded equities and credit and want to move into digital. And so we've been meeting with these clients consistently over the last couple of months. And I can tell you that the number of questions, the amount of scrutiny coming from the legal compliance operational side is, every bit as intense as the investment team's thoughts and thinking around how to approach this new asset class, if I can use that term. And having institutional grade infrastructure, we believe, is one of the impediments that's held back institutional adoption. That coupled with education and regulatory clarity, but coming to market with institutional grade infrastructure like you guys are providing and like we are, we think is really critical, and that no significant institution will enter into this space unless they can have confidence in the service providers that they're working with. There's too much for them to lose, frankly.
Yep. I hear that, and I feel.
All right, so the first thing that he says is they're a meeting with hundreds of institutional clients through Cowen. Cowen is a banking platform that's got hundreds of institutional clients, and they're looking to move into the crypto world, right? He also mentions that Lloyd's is a bank that's insuring Polysign. So in case institutional client loses their assets or anything like that, it's insured. So hundreds of clients. Jack Mcdonald is working with institutional investors, and they look like they're going towards his platform. So this is the next piece of information. Listen to this.
In arrears that we've onboarded a given asset. So Solana is an example of one that is not on the approved list of New York. And we saw a lot of market demand for that, as well as a lack of support from other custodians for the asset, which was part of our calculus. And so we decided to onboard that asset and brought it online in concert with you guys doing the staking. I think it was back in November. Another coin or two coin tokens that we just added were Uniswap, as well as the LP tokens for Uniswap. That was just approved by our board a couple of weeks ago. We're working on Avalanche next, and we'll continue to roll out more and more coins or tokens as we see the market opportunity to do that.
All right, so institutions have a demand for Solana, they have a demand for Avalanche, and the other thing that he mentioned was Uniswap version, the liquidity pool token. So when he says an LP token, what he's talking about is when people stake their assets for yield on Uniswap. So he's talking about DeFi, right? There's institutional clients that are interested in DeFi. Now, I don't know how that's going to work out with all the KYC regulations. If it's over 10,000, it looks like you're going to have to start identifying who you traded with. So I don't know how that works with institutions and DeFi, but he's supporting Uniswap LP tokens, which is interesting to me. It tells me there's a future there, even with regulations with KYC and AML. So today, Brown Brothers Harriman released this paper in collaboration with Polysign. It says Brown Brothers and Polysign collaborated on this article to explore tokenization potential to transform financial services and how the ability of the technology to deliver promise of automation, liquidity, and transparency. Okay, so what was interesting, and credit to Wrath of Kananaham, he posted this first, coming together to make this vision a reality. And it talks about atomic cross-border settlements of different assets across multiple public and private digital ledgers, 24 hours per day, 365 days per year. And then it says near instant transaction processing times, real-time transparency. And what I'm curious about is this. Now, they don't specifically mention XRP, but to be able to bridge from public to private 24 hours a day and then still be able to have instant transactions, that's not possible with Bitcoin or Ethereum or anything like that. It needs to be, a fast bridge asset for that to happen. So, Arthur Brito, Joel Katz, David Schwartz is working on Polysign. It would be, it's likely that XRP is somehow involved with this. Now, I can't tell you if, this slide is exactly saying XRP, but it sure looks like that way to me. And on the bottom, it says BBH is not affiliated with Polysign, but why did they release this document in collaboration with Polysign? It seems questionable to me. So, who is BBH, right? So BBH is one of the oldest, largest private investment banks in the U.S. So the other thing is Brown Brothers is notable for their number of influential American politicians, government appointees, and cabinet members who have worked at the company, such as Prescott Scott Bush, Robert Fisher, Alan Greenspan. Right. So the other thing is when I went into Brown Brothers Harriman, when I went into institutional investors, who they do business with, who they serve, central banks, sovereign wealth funds, government pension schemes. And this is like all the money in the markets come from sovereign wealth funds and government pensions. I mean, this is where a vast sum of wealth is in the market. So, that just them working with tokenization and digital assets, this is how this money comes in, how the 30 trillion in the stock market, the 40 trillion in the bond market starts coming into the crypto world is through institutions like this. Now, I don't know if they're working with Polysign. It looks that way to me, but that's speculation just from this collaboration paper. But just them being in digital assets is good for the whole market, even if they're not using Polysign software and they're just coming into the market with this type of backing behind it. That's a lot of wealth that will have access to it. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is State Street actually bought out Brown Brothers. So listen to this.
Year-end 2021. Here to discuss the deal is State Street's chairman and CEO, Ronald O'Hanley. Ron, great to see you. Glad to get your your take on this transaction. We were talking earlier. These investor services, this processing businesses that you're in, it's truly about scale. What is it about Brown Brothers division here that makes it a fit for you?
Mike, it's good to see you, and I think you've articulated it well. These are technology-driven businesses. It is about scale. The amount of technology that has to be brought to bear increases every year. What Brown Brothers brings to us is a couple of things. First, it actually brings a set of technology assets that are quite additive to our own and will help propel our own platform development. Second, it's in very attractive geographies. In some cases, they overlap with us, but in some cases, they've actually got a stronger position than we do. The examples there would be Japan and Latin America, which are high growth, very lucrative markets. Thirdly, it's an extraordinary talent base.
So State Street bought them out, and they highlight their technology capabilities. So Brown Brothers is working on the tokenization of assets, the digital assets, being able to, how tokenization is changing the way the industry thinks about financial transactions. They're working on all this. State Street bought them out. State Street's one of the second largest banks in the U.S. It's one of the oldest banks in the U.S. So they bought them out, and they're working on getting their customers access to the digital currency markets, which is a big deal. Now, this was sent to me by Nietzsche Bucks on Twitter, and this is a Tranglo document. And on this Tranglo document, it talks about service specification and document history, and it lists some of the banks in the Philippine jurisdiction. Now, look at some of these banks. It says Bank of China, Citibank, which is one of the global correspondent banking networks, right? HSBC, which is another one. And then you have China Bank, China Trust Bank. These are some major banks. And this is just specific to the Philippines, right? But what ended up happening is, as interest rates rise, as KYC AML costs, what happens is these global correspondent banks cut off those jurisdictions, right? So if Tranglo is able to get money to the Philippines cheaper and faster, the incumbents will use that service to stay competitive and to have their clients, that want to send money to the Philippines, they actually could offer that service with Tranglo. And we know the Philippines is one of the more liquid corridors for XRP. So these giant banks, right, they're able to send money to the Philippines, which I think is going to be done with ODL. So the next thing is a new bill tasks Treasury, not the Fed, with digital dollar issuance. And this bill talks about eCash, where it's an anonymous peer-to-peer retail dollar. And they're talking about not even having a distributed ledger or blockchain, that this would be peer-to-peer and completely anonymous. I doubt this bill will pass, but that gives me a lot of hopes, because money should have a certain amount of privacy to it, right? It shouldn't be watched by the government. And that's why I don't think that this is going to go through, is because I think, the government wants to watch our money. So the next piece of information is Brooks from Ripple mentions this service is particularly popular in Asia Pacific region, where adoption has increased by an average of 130% a year. So when we're seeing growth like this, 130% is a big number. As banks probably have like an unlimited supply amount of cross-border payments they want to actually send. So really, what this is testing, and it's more confidence going into the XRP ledger. So as this continues to grow, I think it'll have a snowball effect where you're seeing 130%, but I think this number doubles and doubles and doubles down the line. So it's a very promising figure that we just saw. So in this document, Mutual Trust Bank has announced that they've used RippleNet as a back-end solution that underpins the financial institution's own customer interface. So it looks like that MTB has partnered with Ripple. And what's interesting is by integrating with RippleNet, the most advanced blockchain technology for global payments, making it easier for MTB to reach a trusted growing network of 300 plus providers across 40 countries and 6 continents. Two-way conversation between financial institutions, right? So now you can operate 24/7, 365 days a year. MTB is a Bangladesh bank, right? So they've also have this Sharhaf exchange were introduced. So it looks like this is integrated into Sharaf Exchange, and it's also another pivotal point for MTB remittance, which is probably the application that uses RippleNet. So it's the front end application of RippleNet's on the back end. So it has functionality with Bcash, right? And this is a Mojo Loop initiative. Bcash uses Mojo Loop, which means interledger, right? So this is how we're seeing this mutual trust bank can talk to Bcash wallets because they're on the similar technology. They're on Ripple Tech. So it looks like also MTB accounts as well as through their BFTN. So the second phase of this, we're at the first phase right now, but the second phase of this is for the MTB remittance solution to be able to go through all accounts in BEFTN. And what that means is this is Bangladesh's payment system. So it would mean that MTB Bank can send Ripple payments through all Bangladesh without a problem. So that's going to be the second phase. So the first phase is they have remittances where, that you just send it through Mutual Trust Bank, and it uses RippleNet. So yeah, and this is just the operating rules of EFTN. So this next piece of information is EastNet's Payment Safe. And EastNet's Payment Safe shows all of their integrations right here. It shows Swift, and right here it shows Ripple, right? So it looks like EastNet has a Ripple integration. So EastNet's customers have the choice of using Ripple on their platform. When they sign up for EastNet's Payment Safe, they'll have access to RippleNet if they want to use it. And why wouldn't they if it's faster, cheaper, and more cost effective? Now, who is EastNet, right? So EastNet's on their Crunchbase, it states that EastNet is a global provider of compliance and payment solutions for the financial service sector. Now, it also says that they ensure trust at 750 financial institutions across the world, including 11 of the top 50 banks. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please tell me what you think in the comments below. Please like and subscribe. Thanks, everyone.